Hello, hello. Welcome to a Dreamer's Experience Conquer the Chaos. My name is Sean Laurie, and as a father of four and an entrepreneur, I want to give you guys different insights and tools each week from either myself, my wife, or others that will not only help you individually, but also as a parent conquer the chaos.
And hey guys, my name is Tiffany Lowry and I co host alongside my husband. I do wear many hats, and the two that I'm the most proud of is being a mother and a wife. We have had many chaotic moments as a family, but have somehow always managed to conquer the chaos. And that's why I'm excited to be here with you guys to share part of our journey.
Yeah. So before we dive into this subject, because I'm excited about this one, but we always gotta break the tension a little bit, right? So, what is something as a parent that you dislike having to do for our kids, if any? Maybe there's not.
Oh no, there are some. Um, Mine I think would probably be giving them medicine. I don't
Yeah,
like it.
yeah,
Only because they always complain and they're always so extra. Like they don't like the way it tastes, so then they're like throwing a fit, and it's just a hassle. So
yeah. They be acting like they're about to die,
yeah,
gagging, and
yeah. Even
it's so
Camille,
terrible. Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah. Yeah, they're
yeah,
all
that
babies when it comes to that. That's
yeah,
true.
that would be mine.
Um, for mine, yeah, that is a good one. I would say potty training. Hate it so
Mm,
much.
yeah,
Um, right, like it's not the P. It's not number one. It's number two. I
yeah,
hate having to deal with that. Had those moments where they missed a toilet, poop on the ground, just terrible,
yeah. It's a
absolutely
mess.
terrible. Yeah, so um, hate those very much. Those moments. But with that being said, I want to actually dive into today, just really as a parent, um, how do we balance our personal time with being a parent, right? That because it gets dicey, right? And
Yeah,
obviously, even though we dislike those moments we shared, at the same time, those things have to be done, obviously, right? Those things have to be taken care of. But it's just one of those things where it's hard to balance when it comes to, if your kids are involved in sports, where our kids are starting to now, homework, right? If they have field trips, make it sure too for us, obviously, right? Having four kids, we want to make sure that we give each child that attention so they're not feeling kind of just lumped into one. We want them to
mhm,
also have their own individual relationship with both of us. Um and being able to balance that, but then at the same time being able to find time to be with my wife right here, to be that find time for me. That can get difficult. That can get very difficult. Not to mention for us, right? Like we shared, but moving to another state, right? So that even puts a little bit more
yeah,
um, stress, I guess, at
yeah.
times on us. But so I guess are there any times for you with all those things that I said, that you're feeling, I guess, overwhelmed, and like, yeah, what do you do during those times, like when you do feel overwhelmed? Because I know. Oh, and not to mention, right? I said all those things. I didn't even mention work,
Yeah.
right? Still doing work as well, um, and we're not even one of those people. We're fortunate enough where we're not forced to work 12-hour days.
Yeah.
Where
Mhm.
those people are working 12-hour days, or the single parents out there as
Mhm.
well, where at least there's times where, hey, babe, you get you get a couple hours, I get a couple hours here.
Yeah.
So, like, but for you, is there yeah, I guess, is there times when you're overwhelmed?
Yeah. Like all the time. Like probably about 90% of the time. I think for me, it makes it a little bit more overwhelming because for a while, I wasn't working full time. I stopped working
Yeah,
when Shiloh was born, or when I was pregnant with Shiloh. So I barely went back to work full time, and even though I work from home, like it's still stressful.
yeah,
I go from this one lady I talked to the other day. She was getting ready to get off as well in a different department, and we were both joking. Basically, we go from our room to the kitchen, or our room to, you know, whatever else needs to be done. So, yeah, there's definitely, and then, you know, like you said, school, Shondell started sports, you know, balancing the time between the kids, me, you
Yeah.
know, it gets tough. Yeah.
So like, what do you try to do with that? Like, what do you try to do for your me time? I guess.
Um, I mean, I used to, you know, I would go out to dinner with, like, you know, my friends. Now, us being moved and, you know, not really knowing too many people, definitely, um, the manicure and pedicure. That's like every 3 weeks, two
Yeah.
to 3 weeks. That's my time. But even then, right? Like sometimes I incorporate that with the girls.
Hmm.
So even that is not all the way me.
Yeah.
Like
I would say probably for you it might be, it's not much, I guess, but when you're watching your, what's that, Insecure or whatever show you kind
reruns of that.
yeah, I just watches that all the time.
Yeah. Uh,
So I would say probably that maybe.
yeah. I mean, outside of, you know, going to the nail shop, you know, I took a break from social media, but that was, you know, that was one of them. But I noticed that was getting draining for me. So I bought a couple books recently. So I've been reading. So that's kind of like a wind down for me,
Yeah.
watching shows. Yeah, those will be mine. What about yours?
Yeah, I mean, similar, obviously overwhelmed for sure. A lot, especially, you know, I'm fortunate enough that I do get to be home as well, but obviously in the line of work I do, you know, in the entrepreneur lane, I'm constantly in a state of creating, right? So you're
Yeah.
creating, starting new things, but on top of these new things that you're doing, I'm also trying to help clients.
Hmm.
I'm besides helping clients, I'm also, because our youngest son is with us. So I'm helping him, you know, learn certain things, dealing with his temper, right?
Yeah.
Um, and then, you know, getting the kids from school and different things like that. So it definitely at times can be overwhelming.
Hmm.
Um, and it's one of those things where it's easy to get in my own head, right? And
Hmm.
so for me to get that me time, you know, is sports, but then, right, because at times I want to escape so much, I can get consumed too much with the sports.
Yeah.
So,
Goes down the rabbit hole.
yeah, so then, you know, so then I try to do better as far as, you know what, let me listen to a podcast, right?
Mhm.
Um, let me read. I've been slacking, but now I'm starting back, but let me go to the gym. Those little things right there are the mean times that I get.
Yeah.
Um, so, you know, and try to figure out different ways, even if I'm doing something um, else, like try to have fit in that me time. So, our
Yeah.
son, he started basketball, and so far it's been pretty cool. Um, we met this cool guy, Coach Red, and you know we've been connecting. And so even though the kids are doing their thing in that way, I'm able to connect with someone and
Hmm.
kind of have that me time, kind of be able to speak to someone outside of my kids and wife.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say, yeah, for me too, even though I haven't really met too many people here, like I still, I think, decompress by talking to my friends on the phone from back home too.
Yeah.
So I think that's one for me. And then I just wanted to weigh in really quick
Hmm.
because, right, like I think obviously, like for me, it's stressful,
Yeah.
you know, and overwhelming, but you like switching roles, I think that's overwhelming in itself, like,
Yeah.
you know, me now working full time, and then you know, being an entrepreneur and entrepreneur slash stay at home dad too,
Yeah.
like that in itself
Yeah.
is hard.
Yeah. No, that's a good point because I have to really be I have to schedule everything, which I'm
Hmm.
not the best scheduler. So wife has to help me with that, which also adds to on her plate, right? To help me be able to schedule certain things because, like what she said, right, where I have to really time things a certain time. Okay, you know what? My son's going to be napping at this time, so I can talk to this client,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or, oh, you know what? My son, I try not to have him on the tablet as much as possible, but for what I'm doing, obviously I have to, right? So it's like, hey, just go on this tablet for 30 minutes, right?
Yeah.
So I can finish this thing up that I'm doing right here. But yeah, trying to have that balance, but then also understanding the great thing is with what I do, I can create my own schedule. So
Mm-hmm.
the great thing about that is, you know what? Um, um, Whatever Tuesday is going to be the day that, you know what, I'm not going to do anything on that side as far as
Mm-hmm.
my business goes. I'm just going to focus strictly on um, helping my son or stuff with the kids or whatever the case is. But
Mm-hmm.
even then, there's still times because again, right, in the line of work, I'm constantly being creative. So there might be something that sparks something for me, like, oh, let me add this to it, or
Yeah.
let me reach out to this. So that constant balance is crazy because like she said, she was home with the kids. And see, I have one. She had pretty much, well, what, two, three? No,
What?
Linnea was there too, right? No, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Actually, no, because of COVID, I forgot everyone was home.
Yeah.
Everyone was home. So
But then you went back to work, and then yeah, I had Shondell home because he was doing virtual learning, and
yeah,
then Lania and Shiloh. And then
yeah,
once Shondell went back to school, Shondell and Camille,
yeah,
then it was Linnea and Shiloh.
yeah.
So yeah.
And then, like she said, the roles reversed where I was able to do, you know, my business full time, and she's working now, but it's from home. But at the same time, we had to still be able to have someone, you know, get our kids, watch the kids, which now falls on me. So it's just a different
Yeah.
change of pace, which is crazy. With that being said, now, so like, what do you think? I guess can happen when you don't have that balance for yourself in all
Mm-hmm.
aspects, like
Mm-hmm.
when you're not able to separate, you know, the from parent time to obviously our relationship to your personal time, like what do you think that looks like, I guess?
Um, what can happen? You said like what can
Yeah,
happen?
like when you don't have that balance, like what do you just think can happen from that?
Um, stress.
Mm,
And stress comes like the effects of stress come in many aspects. Anxiety. You can definitely fall into depression.
mm.
Um, and then yeah, I think those are like the main three that I think of when thinking about that, like the effects of it can happen.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that. I think too, it's one of those things where um, things will start slipping, right?
Yeah.
So, um, like we've seen it before as well, where at times parents won't have no balance. So literally, their kids is their world,
Hmm.
right? Because that's just what they decide to do, which is nothing wrong with that. But then it becomes where their identity is strictly through their kids.
Become consumed in a
Yeah.
sense.
And so when their kids go to college or, you know, get a job or move out, whatever, like they're almost lost. You
Mm-hmm.
know, they don't know
Yeah.
what to do with themselves. Um, and so I think that's what can happen. And for me, not having that, like for myself, I definitely can get in a place where, you know, I can start overthinking things
Hmm.
because I'm not able to just have that time with me, right? Like coming to Texas, I could easily be like, oh my gosh, like what am I doing? You know, just questioning all the methods that's
Hmm.
going on, and also relationship wise. Um, so like I didn't realize that I used to downplay it as far as the time for the relationship. I was just like, oh, you know, I'm here with my wife, like we're good. Like I don't necessarily need like we're in the same house, we're in the same space. So at
Hmm.
the end of the day, that's good enough. Like that's what I thought for a while. But then I realized over time, like, no, I need that because my love language is I do need that verbal affirmation and things like that, but I also need, you know, that physical presence, that physical touch, things like that. Um, and so when I didn't have those things because I was so busy with work, because this was a few years ago, I was working like 12-hour days, and I started getting in a space where I started entertaining things I shouldn't. Like, I'm looking at videos, I'm, having conversations with females and things like that, because I wasn't spending enough time with my wife, right? Like, I was making sure the kids were good. I was always making sure the kids was good, but I wasn't spending the time that I should with her. And because of that, what she's voicing me with, I'll let you share as well, but just not feeling that love that she should have been getting.
Yeah. And I think a lot of times when we don't put, like, right, when we get so consumed with like work and we don't have that balance, like you said, like in with ourselves, right, like it starts to take a toll on the relationship and starts to put a strain. And yeah, like he mentioned, like not having that time, like, right, like I would start to feel like neglected, right? And so that's why, like, I think it's really big not only to have your own me time, but to also have that time for you as parents as well to spend together. Like, it's crucial.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. In the same way, right, she felt like neglected, or I could feel neglected, right? We do that within ourselves as well, right? Where we start feeling neglected. And now we start like, for example, I've seen it where people start picking up certain habits that they shouldn't do because they're not able to just have that space. So it's almost like, okay, I need to escape, I need to get away, right?
Yeah. They start drinking, or maybe they start, smoking cigarettes, or, getting into, I don't know, like porn, or,
whatever.
anything, literally anything.
Just any type of escape, and again, not saying like, oh, you drink, whatever, a cocktail, a beer, whatever. No, I'm saying like literally it's to the point where they're constantly have to drink beer at 5 o'clock in the morning, right? Yeah. Like a whole 6-pack just to function, because that's their escape, because they're like, man, I'm constantly on the go.
Yeah.
And so that's something that I realized that was so crucial. Like making sure, obviously the kids, yes, but making sure that I also spend that time with my wife, spend that time with myself as well, because in all things it takes work. And I feel like a lot of times we don't think that, right? We're like, oh, okay, with the kids, I understand that. But even with yourself, yes, you constantly should be working on yourself.
Yeah.
Like, it takes work. If you want to actually grow as a person, you need to work at it.
Yeah.
You can't say, it's like me saying, oh yeah, I want to get, I'll never probably be this, but I want to be 220 pounds. I want to be yoked, right? I don't think my body is structured that way. But if I want to achieve the goal where I want to, get my body in better shape, I'm going to have to work out, right? I'm going to have to actually work. It takes work. It takes discipline. If I say, oh man, I want to grow spiritually, as you guys know, I'm a believer. But for me to do that, I have to dive into my Bible, right? If I say, oh man, I want to grow just mentally, okay, then I should be paying attention to what I'm watching, what I'm programming into myself. I say what we program into our kids, but am I programming into myself?
Yeah.
What am I listening to?
Yeah. Yeah, so, that's important.
Yeah.
And then even if it's something like just something little, like, right? Because a lot of times, and especially with us, before it was a little bit easier, right? Yeah. We had, family, friends that would, watch the kids, but now it does make it a little bit harder to have date nights, or, just time for ourselves in general. Because I know for me, like, because you spend so much time with the kids, like I'm kind of conscious about like, hey, do you want to go to the store instead of me? Or like, hey, is it okay if I go to the nail shop, or is it okay if I go to get my nails done, or something like that? I would say that's like a factor as well, like being conscious of that.
And you actually answered somewhat, because I was going to ask too, like, what are some methods we can do as parents to help, with that? So you kind of answer that as well. But yeah, making sure honestly just prioritizing,
Yeah.
Everything.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that should be the number one thing. And like I said, scheduling, right? Even if you're not very good at it, you have to schedule, because that's the thing. For the things we really value, the things we really want, we will make time for.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
you could say you're not, but that's not true, because there's times where, oh, you know what? Again, the sports people out there like me, right? You're going to find a way to either watch a game, look at a score, whatever it is, right? Even if it's like for 10 minutes, you're doing something to make sure, okay, I know what's happening,
Yeah.
right?
That's definitely you.
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. Whatever we want to really prioritize, because there's so many times where we're like, oh, I don't have time to do this for me. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, well, you was up late last night watching some show on Netflix,
Yeah.
right? That really added no value
Mm-hmm.
to your life
Yeah.
whatsoever. And you could have been instead, I don't know, you could have been doing that to meditate. Meditating is,
Mm-hmm.
is huge as well for those. I know some people's like, that's weird, but it's actually a really strong, powerful thing. But meditate, yoga, work out. Like I said, read a book, like, or what my wife shared, like, read a book, whatever those things is. But prioritize should be the number one thing I feel, as one of the methods.
Yeah.
Because yeah, it's just a powerful thing. And then also just changing your mindset,
Mm-hmm.
not having the mindset of, okay, you know what, it's just no point in me trying, or I have to do this. Like, value yourself enough, and value what you want for yourself,
Mm-hmm.
to understand I can control what type of life I want.
Yeah. And I think what you said kind of made me think too, because like a lot of times, right, like when we get overwhelmed and we get into this headspace of, oh, like I have to spend time, like then it starts becoming like a chore almost,
Yeah.
right? And then we get discouraged, or that's when like the neglect starts kicking in and all this other stuff. So yeah, prioritizing and just understanding like, hey, this is important.
Yeah. Yeah. And even if it's a little bit, like what you said right now as well, just made me think of, right, there's so many times, for me, where I get discouraged because I'm a smaller dude, but working out and I don't see the results right away.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so we get in our own head. So I'm like, man, I'm gonna stop doing that. Right. But
Mm-hmm.
then I realized, and it's bigger than that for me, because
Mm-hmm.
again, that was some of my me time, and I am getting the results. I'm just not getting it as quick as I want to.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
And so just being conscious of those things as well. So
Mm-hmm.
that's huge.
Yeah. And even like some of the, like you mentioned, like some things to help with, like you said, like prioritizing, scheduling, those are big. And then, like we already talked about, like it doesn't even have to be anything like huge,
Mm,
right? Or anything like that. Like your me time can be going outside by yourself for like a 15-minute walk.
yeah.
Or even like for us, I know, right, like we sometimes during the week, like we have parent time, like that's what we tell Camille. And
Yeah.
like, the kids will be in bed, and then she stays up a little bit later, so we'll tell her like, hey, we're gonna go watch a show, we're gonna watch like a cooking show, or whatever it is that we want to watch. And I try to go to bed by a certain time, so it's like, okay, hey, it's 8:30, so from 8:30 to 10, we're just gonna hang out with each other, right?
Yeah.
So like I said, it doesn't even have to be anything like super big, super
Hmm.
extravagant. And then yeah, so
Yeah. No, that's key right there, because we definitely have figured out different methods, because it is just us,
mhm.
where we'll ask our oldest if she can, hey, can you just watch the kids for an hour or two, so we can watch a show, or our anniversary's coming up, so we'll be asking her to watch it for a little bit as we probably go get something to eat and things like that. But trying to make sure we fit that in there, and just your you time. At least for me, maybe it's just me, but my me time can just be sleeping.
Yeah.
you know
Yeah.
um just sleeping. Like, man, let me be able to get like an hour of sleep or 2 hours or 2 hours, like a nap. If you're like me, sometimes I nap 2 hours. But yeah, just get that and leave me be. Like, it's great. I know some of y'all like, man, y'all old. Like, hey, naps are underrated. Okay,
You
naps are
gonna miss them.
amazing. All
Yeah,
right,
you gonna miss
I
them.
understand that. I'm like, man, I wish I had nap time. But
Yeah.
but yeah, just different things like that, right? So I know, for example, there's times where, you know, my wife is just doing 1,000 different things, which we definitely appreciate. But if she's not feeling well or something, she'll be like, hey, I just want to lay down. Yeah, go lay down.
Hmm.
Sleep. And again, her heart is big where she's like, no, I want to make sure you guys have this, have that. And she doesn't listen all the time, but I'll be like, hey, no, it's fine. I will take care of this. Right. Because I know how important it is for her, because if she's not right mentally, nothing else is going to be right. That's how I take it.
Hmm.
Right. Because if she's not right mentally, then she can't be the best version of herself for not only as a wife, but also for her kids, me.
Yeah.
If I'm not right mentally as well, right, I'm gonna be checked out. I'm not gonna maybe want to play with my kids and give them time, especially with my youngest daughter. She's constantly thinking of different games. She just asked me to play doctor, or something,
Restaurant,
restaurant, whatever. Yeah,
neighbor.
neighbor, all these things she comes up with,
Yeah.
But if I'm not in that right space, right, I'm like, no, I just don't want to do it, and that makes her feel, sad, that upsets her, things like that. So,
Hmm.
um, yeah, just making sure that I'm right mentally, and that's what it comes down to, honestly.
Yeah. And then I think also like different things that you can do, because right, like you said, for people like us that moved and
Yeah.
don't have like maybe like a team of people to, rely on, family, friends,
Hmm.
or even for like the parents that are single, like the
Yeah.
single parents, like I was actually, when we moved out here, I joined a Facebook group, and it was like a group for moms out here. And like there's constantly like parents that are posting like, hey, who are your babysitters? Like, do you have any recommendations? And then there will be different people commenting and saying like, oh yeah, I recommend blah blah blah. So like I would say that's a good resource as well to use if you are a single parent, or like I said, like us, we don't have anybody really. I mean, we have our daughter, but if she was to get overwhelmed and say like, hey, I don't want to, okay, that's fine. Use resources like that. Like I know a big one too is care.com, where
Oh
they
yeah,
have
yeah.
like I think they have like daycares, babysitters, and everything on there. So, there's recommendations. Like I know they do background checks and stuff like that. So that's like a good resource to have as well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I was gonna definitely ask about the background check. Definitely check. You don't want
Yeah.
no weirdos. But yeah, no, there's
Hmm.
there's there's options for sure. Being creative, as much as possible to
Yeah.
give yourself either, like, again, that time for you personally, or for the relationship you're in.
Yeah.
Um, just having a balance as much as possible.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I think that actually makes me think too, because you said with the mothers group and stuff like that. So I actually want to remind you guys before we go. Um, I am doing something. So the podcast before, was a couple episodes ago, I did with Jason. Appreciate that, and it sparked up amazing conversation, and a lot of different ideas. So I wanted to put together something called Dads Connecting. Right. So for the fathers out there, if I didn't reach out to you, or you didn't get a chance to get the information, I want to let you guys know now. So it will be happening April 28th. April 28th is when it'll be taking place. And I know that's the draft. So for those, the NFL draft, like, oh my gosh, no. Again, these players are not going to add any value to your life. I promise. Right. It might feel like that. Like, oh man, I got my favorite prospect. Like, that's great. But this is going to be something that I wanted to put together. So it's going to be a free webinar. But it's just going to be fathers connecting. We're going to dive into, what is really the identity when it comes to a father. What does that take to be a real father? And what does that look like? And it's just, I wanted to just really just bring fathers together, because we don't do that enough, and really have a real dialogue, almost like a round table type of thing. So I'm excited about that. So if you haven't, had a chance to know about it or want to know more about it, just email me at adreamersambition@gmail.com. And yeah, and just matter of fact, email me and just say, no perfect father. That's what you can say. Just email me, no perfect father, and I'll give you the information so you can be part of it. But yeah, I'm super excited about that. And like always, guys, make sure you subscribe, right? Subscribe, like, give it reviews. The feedback's been amazing for us. So we definitely appreciate that, guys. And so before we go, like always, I want to remind you parents to keep being an inspiration and never downplay the impact that you're making for your loved ones. And remember that you're always conquering the chaos.